Yeah, so let's start. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Feeling so tired that's why I wanted to start early. Because the more late it becomes, the more exhausted you are after the entire day of work. You read about the what was it? JDBC interface.
Yeah, I read
I
about
read
it.
about it. Good. Let's start from the beginning because I have to cover everything anyways. And since this is final, let's try to recall as much as we can before we look at the actual answers. You can see my screen, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing is what is Java? So Java is a programming language that is based on the class. It's an object-oriented programming language which contains methods and classes, and it has different features such as it's robust and it's platform independent, architecture neutral, um, and has different methods. Has different features such as inheritance, interface, abstract classes, polymorphism, etc. Um, okay. Yeah. The Java program is first converted into bytecode, and that can run on different JVM or of different operating systems. Okay, what is object-oriented programming in Java? So object-oriented programming is a programming mechanism in which objects are used for the operations. The objects contains data and methods, and yeah, that's correct. Let's see. They aim to implement real-world entities like inheritance, data hiding, polymorphism, etc. The main aim for object-oriented programming is to bind the data and functions together so that no other part of the code can access the data except the that function. Okay, you want to give it a try? What's an object-oriented programming?
Object oriented programming is a concept in which objects are used to structure the program and you define what operations are to be performed using objects.
Mm-hmm.
And with object oriented programming, you can implement real world entities like inheritance and polymorphism.
Okay. There was also one more thing. I think something about encapsulation.
Inheritance, polymorphism, and encapsulation.
Yeah, but the last line was about the encapsulation. You remember what that was?
Objects can be used to encapsulate the data and the methods that operate on the data together.
Yeah, bind the data and methods together so no other function except that function can uh, close that data basically. No other part of the code can access that this data except that function. Objects and classes. So objects are basically an instance of a class, and they are the unique elements. And classes are a blueprint through which different objects can be created. And objects contain data and methods distinctly identified. Real world entity, nothing but a real world entity that can be distinctly identified. Object instance of a class that has properties and methods. A class is a template or a blueprint that defines data fields and methods of an object of the same type. So it's a blueprint through which different objects can be created, and it defines the data fields and methods of an object of the same type. Data hiding, how it is achieved. So data hiding means hiding the data from the outside interference. This can be achieved using the private access modifiers. So if a variable or a method is declared as private in the class, it cannot be used from outside of the class. However, you can use getters and setters to access them outside of the class in a subclass. Abstraction and using abstract classes. So abstraction means that is it only showing the important details and uh, hiding the detailed information, only showing the essentials. For example, um, a car is seen as a car rather than its different components. Uh, Abstract class is basically a class that is defined using abstract keyword. It is used to achieve abstraction and Blues coupling, and it is also used to achieve multiple inheritance, which is not available by default in Java. And multiple inheritance means that a class can inherit multiple classes. Process of hiding detailed information, only present the essential information to the user. Abstraction achieved by abstract class interface. Any user or can use a method without knowing about the implementation. Abstract class, a class which is declared an abstract is called abstract class, got abstract and non-abstract methods. The abstract class is when it's actually extended, then all of its abstract methods must be implemented in the class that is extending it. And the yeah, and inside of the abstract class, the abstract methods that are defined that are actually just declared, not defined. The implementation happens in the class that extends it. A method which is declared as abstract and does not have implementation in the abstract class is known as abstract methods. It can have abstract and non-abstract methods. It needs to be extended, and its abstract method can be must be implemented by the class extending it. It cannot be instantiated. Advantages of the abstract class with the help of a program. So the advantage is that it helps in grouping of the classes together, and it really this grouping of the class helps in the organizing the code. Um, and it has what a concrete method. And what was that line, Sumaya? It has concrete method and what?
It provides the flexibility of having both concrete and abstract methods.
Okay, okay, right. It offers reusability um, because you define the actually you declare methods, abstract methods inside of the abstract class, and then any class that extends it automatically knows what all need to be implemented. Avoids code duplication, code reusability, writes shorter codes. Changes to internal code implementation are done without affecting classes. Encapsulation is binding of the data and methods together. It is done by making the data field accessible only to the class members by declaring the data as private. So data is only accessible to the class members by declaring the data as private. Everyone outside of the class knows how to access it and use the methods without thinking about the implementation details. Inheritance is a process in which one class inherits the property of another class, properties and methods of another class. And there are different types of inheritance. One is single level inheritance, then we have multi-level inheritance, we have hierarchical inheritance. In single level, one class inherits the properties and methods of another class. In multi-level inheritance, one class inherits the properties and methods of another class, and another class inherits the properties and methods of another class. And in the yeah, multi-level and then hierarchical, yeah, in hierarchical, different classes inherits the properties and methods of one class. Advantages: then it can reduce development time, offers code reusability. You can achieve overloading and overriding with the help of inheritance. Flexibility makes the code flexible to change, as you'll be able to adjust in one place and the rest of the code will work smoothly. Data hiding: the base class in the inheritance decides what data to be kept private and that the derived class will not be able to alter it. Types of inheritance: we already discussed that. Polymorphism: poly means many, morphism means forms. So an object can have many forms. It can be achieved through overloading and overriding. The advantages are that it helps in, what are the benefits? Oh, so what are the advantages of polymorphism? Do you remember?
Code reusability,
Hmm. And
and uh, it helps in having multiple values for one variable.
multiple values
So
for one variable. Yeah, like for example, in the parent class, that same variable can have different value in the child classes. It can have different variables values, right? And
yeah,
without affecting the parent class. So code reusability, having multiple values in parent and child classes without affecting each other. Okay, tends to reduce pairing of multiple functionalities, become easier to programmer to debug the code. Types of polymorphism: static and dynamic. Static polymorphism is binding of data and function together, and it happens at the compile time, and it is achieved through overloading. Overloading is a mechanism in which the same function is used can be used multiple times with different signature, which is different methods. Sorry, different parameters. Then you have dynamic polymorphism. In this, compiler does not decide what process to be executed. It is the JVM that executes the program at runtime, and it is achieved through overriding. The parent class method is redefined in the child class and to do something else. Access modifier, I think I finally got it, so I'll say it. So I'll first start with the easiest one, which is public. So So any data or method that's been defined as public can be used from anywhere, from inside the class, outside the class, inside the package, outside the package. Anything that's defined that is not, if you don't give any access modifiers, by default its access modifier is default, and that can be accessed from within the class and the subclasses within the same package, but not outside the package. In case if it's defined as protected, then it can be accessed from within the class and the subclasses from within the package and outside the package. And if it's protected, then it can only be accessed from within the class and not outside the class unless you use getters and setters. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Use of static method in Java. So static method is a method that is defined with a static keyword, and it can be accessed from outside of the class with, let's say, inside of the child class, without instantiation of the class. Sorry, without instantiation of the class. The static data can be accessed by the static methods also. Garbage collection in Java. So in Java, automatically does the garbage collection in which it goes ahead and frees up the dynamically allocated memory that is no longer referenced. Uh, Usually, you can do garbage collection in a finalize method, which gets called when the object is destroyed. Advantages: it can make the programmer's life easy, more productive, and what else? Ensures program integrity. Disadvantages: it adds overhead to the system, which adversely affects the program's performance. Programmers in a garbage collected environment have less control over scheduling of the CPU time, as it is devoid of freeing the object that is no longer needed. So advantages: make program more productive, ensures program integrity, adds overhead to the system. Okay. Use a final keyword. So final keyword is used to basically declare constants whose values are not going to change. Finalize method is basically a method which is always gets called automatically once the object is destroyed. This method helps the garbage collector to close all the resources used by the objects and help JVM in memory optimization. Use of constructor. So a constructor needs to have the same name as the name of the class, and when so it gets executed when the object is instantiated. If you don't define a constructor, the system already defines a constructor automatically. I mean, you don't see it, but it's already defined. Used for initializing object at the time of creation. Constructors have the same name as the name of the class. Used for object creation, is automatically called and the memory is allocated before the new operation completes. Main method is used as an entry point of the program in Java. Constructors has a Every class has a constructor, even though we don't declare it explicitly. Compiler will add a default constructor. So main method is an entry point. A constructor is actually called automatically at the time of object creation. Scanner class. So scanner class is available in java.util.lang, I believe. No, java.util.scanner. Okay. So inside of java.util, we have the scanner class available, and you can use a scanner class to basically take the input from the users. For example, you can instantiate it using new scanner, hold it in scanner, and then using different methods it provides, such as scanner dot next int to get an integer from the user, scanner dot next line to take the string from the user. You can take the value, and then after you take the value and store it in a variable or store it in a file, and then finally you close the scanner. So scanner dot close. Features of Java. So Java has different features. First is like it's an object-oriented programming language, and objects contains data and methods, and it has other features such as polymorphism. Again, we can describe our polymorphism. We can talk about data hiding. We can talk about encapsulation. We can talk about abstraction. We can talk about inheritance. I think we can talk about all of these things. And apart from that, it's architectural neutral, which means the bytecode of Java can run on any of the operating systems JVM, such as Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. And it's robust. So Java already has a garbage collector uh, that frees up the dynamically allocated memory, which is no longer referenced. And what else? It's robust. Can you think of any other features?
It is secure.
Okay, how is it secure?
Uh, it is a virus-free system because it runs inside a virtual machine sandbox.
Okay, okay. So it's virus free because it runs in a JVM, a virtual machine. Okay, all right. What else? Anything else?
Multi-threaded.
Yeah,
It
very good.
provides support for concurrent execution of multiple parts of the program.
Yeah, good. So it's multi-threaded. Anything else?
Portable.
Okay.
So
So
the bytecode can be uh,
yeah,
ported to any platform because it's independent of the machine.
platform. Okay, cool. So you said it's portable, and then you said it's multi-threaded and it's secure because the code runs inside of a JVM. And what else you said?
Only those three.
Okay. Okay. So distributed, object-oriented, simple, secure, platform-independent, robust, portable, architectural neutral, dynamic, interpreted, high performance, and multi-thread. Excellent. I think if we say this much, I think it should be enough. But we'll just read it once. We don't really have to remember now because I think we're in good position to give them quite a few features. Uh, it's object-oriented programming. Everything in Java is object. Object promotes understanding of the real-world problems in natural way. They provide practical basic for implementation of the design system, simple and secure, easy to understand, read and write, having user-friendly syntax. We can develop virus-free system using Java program because it has no explicit pointer. It runs inside a virtual machine sandbox. Facilitates you portable, carry the Java bytecode to any platform. With the help of bytecode, you can run Java program on any computer virtually. Provides three types of portability: source code portability, CPU architecture portability. It's robust. Automatic garbage collector runs on a virtual machine, destroys the object which is not being used anymore. Multi-threaded Java runtime system comes with elegant solution. Architectural neutral, write once, run anywhere, anytime. Interpreted and high performance. Java bytecode can be translated into native machine code using just-in-time compiler, which runs faster than standard JVM. Also facilitates running one time and caching the results for future. This is architectural neutral. Distributed, transferred to another machine using bytecode facility. Dynamic, carries a substantial amount of runtime type information used to verify and resolve accesses to objects. Okay, so let's talk about the Java development environment tool. So there are two tools you can use. First is the IDE, and second is command line interface. In the IDE, you can use things like Eclipse and NetBeans. You can use. Did I say correctly? NetBeans, is that one of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have IntelliJ. Then you have VS Code. Okay. Now, there are different components of Java development environment. First is your JDK, then you have JRE, then you have JVM, then you have JIT. And JDK is basically uh, Java development kit. So every module of Java comes with a Java development kit, and it's basically a software environment that is used for development of the Java programs, and it contains the JRE and the JVM, etc. inside of it. Then we talk about the JRE, which is Java Runtime Environment. Java Runtime Environment is a software layer that runs on top of the operating system, and it's an instance of the JDK, and it contains uh, it basically has all of the class libraries that are necessary for the program to run. And then we have the JVM, the Java Virtual Machine. So it's basically a virtual machine which is used to run the Java program at runtime. And then we have just-in-time compiler, which basically compiles the machine. Does it compile the bytecode into machine code? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so it compiles the bytecode into machine code. It really helps in improvement on the performance because it converts it at runtime, so performance is really fast. Did I miss on to anything? Any points you can do?
No.
Okay, good, cool. So see, I told you, we'll make sure bloody we'll get this. It's haunting us for a long, long time. Okay, the class library, instance of GRE, runtime interpreter, speed up execution time, software development environment used to develop Java applications, contains private Java virtual machine, few other resources like interpreter, loader, compiler, archivers, software layer that runs on top of the operating system, provides class libraries to run specific programs, class loaders dynamically load necessary classes, bytecode verifier checks format and accuracy of the Java code, interpreter helps to run Java program natively, virtual machine to run Java programs, as well as programs written in other language which that are compiled to Java bytecode. Just in time can compile the Java bytecode into machine code, significantly improve the performance of Java application at runtime. Integral part of the Java virtual machine and garbage collector usually compile the code as per requirement to JVM. Okay, flow of the program. Let's say you have your welcome.java file. It's basically compiled by the compiler, just-in-time compiler. It generates the welcome class file using the libraries from the JRE, and then that program is actually run by JVM, Java Virtual Machine, at runtime. It outputs the program. Data types in Java. So we have primitive and non-primitive data types in Java. In primitive, we have int, float, byte, boolean, char, long, double, and I'm missing one more. Long, double. Which one am I missing? I'll say it again. Int, byte, boolean, char, long, double, float. Which one am I missing? This is the eight of them.
Short.
Short. Yep. Yep. So I was short of short. Okay. Then we have the non-primitive data types, which contains arrays. Then we have the classes and interfaces. Arrays are basically a collection of data items of the same data type stored in a contiguous memory location. We have single dimension array, multiple dimension arrays. Single dimension arrays can be accessed by a single index. Multi-dimensional arrays can be accessed by multiple dimensions. For example, a two-dimensional array can have rows and columns. A three-dimension array can have blocks, rows, and columns. And then we have the classes, which are blueprint, with the help of which you can create multiple objects. They help you define the data and methods for an object. And then we have interfaces. Interface is a blueprint of a class that actually helps us in abstraction. And you can basically implement an interface. It has different methods, such as abstract methods and non-abstract methods. Abstract methods must be implemented in the class that's implementing it. And of course, you can define it using the uh, interface keyword. Cool, moving on. Okay, so tell me the difference between static and dynamic array. Sumaya.
A static array size is fixed, and a dynamic array size is a variable. It can grow at runtime.
Grow and shrink also, right? Just not just grow.
Uh,
Also, you remove the
yeah,
element, it will shrink. Okay. Where is the static array stored in the memory?
a static array is stored in the stack memory, and dynamic arrays are stored in the heap memory. And the static array size is defined at compile time, and the dynamic array size is defined at runtime.
Okay. Moving on. So what's a package? A package is basically a collection of classes, subclasses, and interfaces. It's just like different files inside a folder. So this folder becomes a package. So for example, if you place the related classes, subclasses, and then inside of a folder, and give this folder a name, and this becomes your package. The different packages basically allows us to do away with the problem of conflicts. Like for example, one package can have the same class name as the other package, but because they live in different packages, there won't be any conflict. It's just like you can have multiple files with the same file name, but in different folders. Uh, they are there are actually two types of packages. First is the inbuilt packages, and second is user-defined packages. So inbuilt packages include packages such as java.util, java.sql, java.javafx. Um, can you think of others? What are the other names? IO, java.io, input output. What else? Java.file. Yeah. You can actually import a package using import statement. Let's say if you want to import a particular class, you can import using java.util.scanner. That will help you import the scanner class. Then we talk about the user-defined packages. So you can create a package by using a keyword called package and then the name of the package, and you can put that at the top of the class file. Same. Okay, then finding packages and class paths. Java runtime looks for packages from three different parts. First is the current folder. If your package in the current folder or subfolder, it will be found. If you have used the class path environment variable, then you can define the path to your package there. You can also use the hyphen class path option to define to basically add the path to your class. There's a difference in using class path and environment variable and hyphen class path compared to current folder. If you are using current folder, then you do have to mention the package name. However, if you're using the um, class path environment variable or the hyphen class path option, then you don't have to specify the name of the package at the end of the path. We discussed that. Swing, util, net, IO, AWT, lang, and JavaX. Interface. So, Sumaya, what is an interface?
An interface is a blueprint of a class that contains static constants and abstract methods,
Okay.
and it is implemented by other classes.
Okay. Any
It's
advantage?
declared using the interface keyword and it's implemented using the implements keyword.
Okay. What are the benefits of the interfaces?
It helps in abstraction and loose coupling
There's one more, very important.
and multiple inheritance.
Yeah. Now we talk about the advantages of using an interface. We already discussed that, but yeah, to achieve total abstraction, uh, anytime you forget, just use total abstraction. Anytime they ask us about, because most of these things does help us with abstraction. So since Java does not support multiple inheritance, we can achieve multiple inheritance using interfaces, loose coupling, making unit test easier, abstract class versus interface. So abstract class, I will just go with the easy ones. You can define an abstract class using abstract keyword. You can define an interface using interface keyword. You can extend an abstract class, but you can implement an interface. Um, what? Yeah, abstract classes cannot be. Can abstract classes implemented?
Yes, I think so. They can implement an interface.
Abstract class can extend another Java class and implement multiple Java interfaces. An interface can extend another Java interface only. Okay. Yeah, I think this is a point we can talk about. It does not support multiple inheritance, it supports multiple inheritance. It's a good one to talk about. Okay. Object serialization is basically converting of an state of an object into byte stream. That's called serialization, and then you can convert the byte stream back into the object, and that's called deserialization. In object serialization, an object can be represented as sequence of bytes that includes object's data as well as the information about the object and the types of the data stored in the object. Yeah, I think I forgot this. This was important. Object, yeah, so object can represent a sequence of bytes that includes object's data as well as the information about the object's types and the type of the data stored in the object. After a serialized object has been written into a file, it can be read from and deserialized. That is the type of information in the byte that represents the object, and its data can be used to recreate object memory. I'm just going to put it on charge. Streaming takes a lot of battery, especially when you're streaming on YouTube. It's charging now. Yeah, it's charging. So, Sumaya, how does object selection work in Java?
Um, Objects can be serializable if the class implements the serializable interface
or extends.
or or the externalizable,
Yeah.
and both of those interfaces are marker interfaces. That means they don't have any methods.
Okay. So an object is eligible for serialization if and only if um, its class or its parent's class, its parent's class implements either the java.io.serializable or java.io.externalizable interface. So an object can be serialized if its class or its parent class implements serializable or externalizable interface, which are present in java.io. In the serialization process, we can convert the state of an object into byte streams. So it can be transferred from one JVM to another and revert byte stream back into the original object. Serializable is a marker interface, contains no methods, and that tells JVM the object of this class is ready for being written to and read from a persistent storage over the network. By default, JVM takes care of writing and reading of the serializable object. The serialization and deserialization are via two methods. One is write object and then read object. Object output stream, write objects, object input stream, read objects. Okay, so once again, recap. Um, an object is eligible for serialization if and only if uh, its class or its parent class implements serializable or externalizable interface, which are present in java.io library or package. And serializable is marker interface, which contains no methods and tells us when the object is ready for serialization. Use of object serialization in Java. Caching. You said caching, so I remember it. And when I say caching, it means basically that convert the object in, like basically serialize the object and store it into a database and then use it. No, no, that's not caching, right? That's not caching. Caching is like it takes almost 10 minutes to serialize an object, but it only takes few seconds to deserialize the object. So we can keep the serialized objects, and then when we want to use it, we can deserialize it. That's caching. And then if two machines want to, so communication is the first point. So if two machines want to interact with each other, then they can go ahead and convert the data into bytecode object into byte stream, and then that can be transferred to another machine, another JVM machine, and then it can be deserialized and used. As that way, they can communicate and pass information because this object contains the data and the data type and information about that data. So we have communication, we have caching, then we have what else?
Object persistence.
Okay, object persistence is that storing into the database? I think
I'm not
so.
sure.
Yeah, I think it's storing in the database. Yeah, we can serialize it and store it into the database, and that makes the object persistent. And then what else is there? Three. You remember any other points? We discussed that yesterday. I can't recall it. Yeah, persistent is the same thing. Putting in database for retrieval. Deep copy. Yeah. Even if you want the exact replica of the object and don't want to go through trouble of writing your own specialized clone class, simply serialize the object into byte array and then deserialize it to another object to achieves the goal. Caching, we already discussed this. Cross JVM synchronization works across different JVMs that may be running on different architecture. Saves the program on states on the disk. I'm restoring a state of a game, sending messages in chat applications. So communication persistence, deep copy, rather than using the clone class, simply serialize and deserialize, caching, cross JVM synchronization, transferring of the serialized object in from one JVM to another, saving the state of a game, sending messages as objects in chat applications. Multithreading in Java. So multithreading is a process of running two or more processes simultaneously, and this is used. Yeah, I think this is used to basically maximize the CPU utilization. And a thread is a process within a process. So thread is a lightweight process within a process, and there can be multiple threads. Do you remember any other point about multi-threading? I don't want to talk about the locking and stuff right now, but from that first slide, do you remember any other points?
Multi-threading in Java is built on the thread class
Yeah,
and the runnable interface.
absolutely. How can I forget that? Yes. So multi-threading system is built upon the thread class and the runnable interface. And if you want to create a thread, you can either extend the thread class or you can implement the runnable interface. Let me try to recall what are the methods. So I think there is um, get thread dot get name and get thread dot get priority. Do you remember those methods when in that program?
It was thread.current thread.getName.
Thread. Okay, there was current thread actually. Okay, so thread dot current thread dot get name and thread dot current thread dot get priority. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Three components: CPU, data, and code. So data can be shared. Sorry, data can't be shared, I guess. Code can be shared. And then what was the thing about the CPU?
It encapsulates the virtual CPU, and data may or may not be shared.
Okay, but code can be shared.
Yeah.
Encapsulates virtual CPU. Thread class is designed to encapsulate the virtual CPU. Various states, new ready. So thread model, life cycle, various states, new ready, running, blocked, and dead. A thread in new when it gets CPU time running. Thread is running state when it gets under execution, suspended, a temporary inactive under execution. Blocked, a thread is blocked waiting for input output resource. For example, terminated once it's finished its execution. Let's take a look. So my thread implements runnable. We define a run function. Then we say thread dot current thread dot get name, thread current thread dot get priority. Then instead of threads demo class, inside of the main function, we say new thread and we pass the instance of the runnable interface, which is my thread, new my thread, and then comma the name of the thread. And then new thread dot set priority, we can set the priority, and then we say new thread dot start. When we call the start function, then it automatically invokes the run method of the runnable interface. Thread synchronization in Java. So threads can communicate with each other, um, but this can cause a program when multiple threads are trying to access the same resource. Like For example, if one thread is reading the same resource or same data, at the same time another resource is writing on the same data, this can cause conflicts and problems. So thread synchronization is essential in Java, and this is achieved through the method of locking. Each thread has a monitor on it, which it can lock or unlock. So when a particular thread wants to basically work on a data, it acquires a lock on it, a lock on the monitor, and at that point of time, no other thread can perform any operation on this, which is called mutual exclusion. And once the operation is performed, then the thread releases the lock on that, and then another thread can acquire the lock on the monitor. So if you want two threads to communicate, share complicated data such as linked list graph, or you need some way to ensure they do not conflict with each other. In other words, you must prevent one thread from writing data on while another thread is reading it. So there's a need to synchronize the action of multiple threads to make sure only thread can access the resource at a given point of time. This is implemented using the concept called monitors. Each object is associated with a monitor which the thread can lock or unlock. Only one thread at a time may hold a lock on the monitor. Synchronization provides simple monitor facility that can be used to provide mutual exclusion between Java threads. Support is built in the Java language. Now, let's talk about the number and string. So, the number class in Java is used to basically work on the numbers, perform number operations. You can convert one type into another type. For example, you can convert a string to a number, a number to a string. So, it provides you with the different methods that are available. Um, for example, dot. Okay, can you think of the what are the methods available in the number class?
It has concrete methods, byte value and short value, and
Mhm.
abstract methods, int value, float value, long value, and double value.
So concrete methods is int value. Sorry, concrete methods are which ones?
Byte and short.
Byte and short are concrete, and abstract methods are long and int.
Long, int, float,
Float
and double.
double also. Okay, okay. All right, good. It's an abstract class. It's in the java.lang. Okay. So scanner is in the util, and the number class is in the java.lang. It has four abstract methods: um, long, int, float, and double, and two concrete methods: byte and short. Use of number class, you have constants such as min value and max value, which are used for the lower and upper bounds respectively, and very much useful in case if we are finding out the biggest number or smallest number, etc., doing comparisons. Number class object can be used as arguments of a method that expects an object, often used to manipulating collection of numbers, converting values from primitive types, from converting to and from strings, converting between number systems, etc. So again, we have concrete methods such as short and byte value, short value and byte value, and then you have the abstract methods such as int value, long value, double value, and float value. Yeah. Okay. So basically, these if you use these functions on a number, they're going to convert it into that data type, like byte, and return it. String class is used to perform operations on the strings or characters. Uh, you have the array of characters basically, and it has different methods such as length. which will help you find the number of characters. You have substring, and then you have char at function. You can find a particular character. You have index of, which helps you find the location of a particular character. Let's see. All string literals in Java programs such as ABC are implemented as an instance of this class. Strings are constant, their values cannot be changed after they are created. String buffers support mutable strings. Because string objects are immutable, they can be shared. So you have char at returns the char value of a particular index, length of the string. Format returns the formatted string. Substring returns the substring of a for a given begin index. Contains checks if the a string contains some characters. Join concatenates two strings. Equals check the equality of two strings. Is empty, concat, replace, split, intern, index of. I talk about the input output streams, input output buffer streams. So Java input output stream class, is it an interface or a class, or is it a package? Java IO used to process input and produce the output, uses a concept or to make IO operations fast. It uses the concept of stream basically. The java.io package contains all the classes required for input output operations. We can perform file handling in Java by Java IO API. List two file class methods, can read and can write. And I remember this because I think you gave me a feedback on one of the PRs. Okay, so let's take a look. So java.io.file. So file class is in java.io. Scanner is in java.util. Number is in java.lang. Okay, so new file, name of the file. So how will you basically create a file? You will use the file class which resides in the java.io package. You instantiate the file class by passing the path to the file, and then you will call the method called create new file, and that function is going to create the new file. And then you can get the absolute path using get absolute path method. You can check if it's writable or readable using can write and can read respectively. I think over here you can also list files, using list files, and then you it gives you an iterable, and using the iterable you can iterate through it, and you can also again perform the can read and can write functions. Okay. Auto closable, flushable, three interfaces that are quite important to the stream class: closable and flushable. Automates process of closing a resource. Objects of a class that implements closable are closed. Exception. Any input output exceptions can occur while reading or writing into a file, basically accessing the file system. IO stream and different stream classes. Stream means continuous flow of data. Stream represents input resource or output destination, which could be a file, IO device, or other program. Java encapsulates stream under java.io package. Two stream classes: byte stream provides a convenient means of handling input and output of a byte, and character stream classes handling input and output of characters. So they might ask us what are different classes in the IO stream. We can say that byte stream class, which is handling input output of a byte, and character stream class, which handles the input output of the character. Byte stream class has two classes. One is input stream and output stream, which has read and write. And character stream class has again reader and writer. So again, a recap: Java IO stream has two classes. One is byte stream and characters. The second is character stream. In a byte stream, perform input-output operation on the bytes, and the other one on the characters. The character stream. Byte stream has, I think, what are the two ones? Byte stream, input stream and output stream, and the other one has um, reader and writer. It has input stream and output stream, and the character stream has reader and writer. Okay, program to save the given data in a file. We can use buffered input stream to be able to perform read and write operation in a file. We can instantiate buffered input stream, use bytes, read the bytes, then file output stream, pass the hello.txt, buffered output stream, use that to write it, and then flush it and save it. Oh, finally, you got database management system. Should we take a break for like 15 minutes and come back and then start database management system?
Okay.
I think we are missing JDBC. We haven't done that, right?
Yeah. And
But yeah,
JavaFX.
JavaFX. We'll do that later if we have time. Otherwise, we will do it ourselves. And yeah, but because database management system is quite large, and it's important to cover that. So yeah. So without wasting time, let's come back in 15 minutes.
Okay.
I'll keep this stream active. So Maya, are you back?
Yeah.
So let's start. Database management system. So I think they might ask us, what is database management system? What is a database? So database is like used to store the data that can be used later, and we can of course perform different operations on that data. Database management system is system which is used to manage that data, like creating tables inside of the data, creating insertion, deletion operations, all the CRUD operations. So now we're talking about relational database. So what is relational database management system? So relational database management system is based
You're
on
not
relation.
sharing screen.
Okay, wait. Share now.
Yeah.
So relational database management system is based on the relational model, and examples of that are um, SQL, MS SQL, uh, Oracle, and IBM DB2. What else? Any others?
MySQL.
Yeah, MySQL. So relational database is based on the relational model introduced by EF Cord, SQL, MS SQL Server, IBM DB2, Oracle, MySQL. I hope the fan is not too disturbing in the audio. I'm not really using any mic right now.
No, it's good.
Okay. Microsoft Access. Yeah, I forgot that. Microsoft Access. So RDBMS is based on relational model, and it uses tables to store the data. Tables contains rows and columns. Rows are also called tuples, and columns are also called attributes. Each table is a relation, which is a collection of related data entries containing rows and columns. Each table represents some real-world object such as person, place, event about which information is collected. Name some DBMS technologies. So there are two types. One is relational database management system, and second is NoSQL. In relational database management system, we have MS SQL, we have Oracle, Microsoft Access, MySQL, IBM DB2, etc. And in NoSQL, we have MongoDB, and we have AWS uh, Dyn- Dynamic, something like that. What was it?
Dynamo.
Dynamo, yeah. MongoDB and AWS DynamoDB. Difference between relational database management system and object-oriented database management system. So relational database management system is based on relations containing tables and rows, and object-oriented database management system based on objects. Uh, a relation basically contains rows and columns, and an object basically has properties and methods. And relational database management system is used to achieve data independence. And in object-oriented database management system, what was it in that?
Encapsulation, I think.
Okay. In relational database management system, we have primary key that is used to identify unique rows, and in object-oriented database management system, object ID is used. Data is stored as entities defined in tabular format. Data is stored as objects. Handles simple data, handles large and complex data. Entity refers to a collection of similar items having same definition. Class refers to a group of objects having common relationship behaviors and properties. RDBMS handles only data. ODBMS handles both data and functions operating on that data. RDBMS uh, keeps the data independent from the application program, and ODBMS implements data encapsulation. RDBMS primary key is used, and here object ID is used. So each row is called record or tuple. Each column is called attribute. A domain is a set of permissible values that can be accepted for a specific attribute. Smallest unit of data in the table is called data item or cells. Degree of uh, okay, degree is the number of columns. Cardinality is the number of rows. So degree of a table is number of columns. Cardinality is the number of rows. A super key is an attribute or set of attributes used to identify records uniquely in a relation. Example, employee ID is a super key since employee ID is unique for each tuple or record. Similarly, employee ID, e-name are also super keys of a relation. Employee since combination is also unique for each tuple or record. The super key is an attribute or a set of attribute, which means a column or a set of column that can be used to identify the records uniquely. Okay. Candidate key is a single key or a group of multiple keys that can be uniquely identify the rows in the table, but the difference is here is that you cannot reduce a candidate key, which means there if there are two keys that together form a candidate key, you cannot break them, and one of them cannot individually denote uniqueness in the table. So it's not reducible. It shouldn't be reducible. What's the difference between super key and a candidate key, Sumaya?
A candidate key is not reducible, and a super key can be reducible. So,
Okay.
candidate key should not have a proper subset of attributes that is also a key.
Okay. Primary key is basically one of the candidate keys that uniquely identifies the tuples in a table. Relation. Relation is defined as two basic concepts: relational schema and relational instance. Relational schema specifies a relation name and the list of the attributes and the domain of each attribute. Degree of relation is the number of columns. Cardinality is the number of rows. So, in relation specifies the relation name and the list of the attributes with their data types. Relation instance is a collection of tuples. So I think you can think of like relation schema as a collection of attributes, and relation instance or state is a collection of tuples. Relation state R of a relation schema, also denoted by R is a set of n tuples. Relational constraints. So, what are relational constraints? Well, when you insert, delete, modify, basically when you manipulate the data, there are certain constraints which are applied, which limit your ability to insert delete, or modify. Set of rules basically, which will limit your ability. So these are called relational constraints. There are different types of relational constraint. Uh, uh, Entity. Okay, let me think. Entity relation constraint, integrity relation constraint. What are the types actually of these?
Integrity constraints,
Yeah.
and we have the prime key constraint
Mhm.
and domain constraint.
There are two main ones, and under that, under the second one, you have the sub ones. So, what are the two main ones? I think it's key constraint and then integrity constraint. In integrity, you have referential integrity constraint and entity integrity constraint. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's try to recall without even looking at it. So key constraint means that each key needs to be unique. So no two tuples can have the same key. Then we talk about the integrity constraints, which are of two types. One is entity integrity constraint, which means that none of the values of the primary key can be null because they're used to uniquely identify a record in a table. And entity, sorry, referential integrity constraint means that we use the foreign key to basically uh, get the data from two different tables. So it says that you should have the data available in the second table, which has the same foreign key available in the first table, something like that. Can you explain all of these once again?
A key constraint states that the primary key should be unique for each tuple. Then the entity integrity constraint states that the primary key should not be null,
Hmm.
and the referential integrity constraint states that the foreign key values should not have any unmatched values. So all of the values present in the referencing relation should be there in the corresponding column in the referenced relation.
Okay. So the foreign key should not have any unmatched values in both tables, right?
Yeah.
On modeling the design of the relational database, we can put some restrictions on what values are allowed to be inserted, modified, deleted in a relation. These restrictions that we impose on the relational database called relational constraints. Constraints are following types: domain constraint, key constraint, integrity constraint. I think we forgot the domain constraint. Domain constraint means that the attribute values should be atomic. You cannot subdivide it. Should not be subset. Uh, Key constraint we already discussed. Integrity we already discussed. These constraints bind the possible value of the attribute in relation to a specific set called the domain of the attribute. Every domain must contain atomic values which cannot be divided into subvalues. So we have domain, we have key, and we have integrity. DKI. Try to remember like that. DKI. You can also short it like this. What's the short form of I don't know? IDK, right? I is integrity, D is your domain, and K is your key. And when you talk about integrity, you will automatically know that it contains two types because we very well remember the referential integrity constraint. Domain constraint bind possible values of the attribute to a specific set. We shouldn't be wasting time. Let's move on. Entity and referential. I think you updated something here, if I'm not wrong. Database must not contain any unmatched following key values. Database must not have unmatched following key values.
I updated the third point.
No, I think you updated this one. This was
No,
not
this is
there.
the
This was
same as before.
yeah. Database must not contain unmatched values. This was already there. Entity relationship ER model. What is ER model? Is entity relationship model. Characteristics of a ER model. Entity relationship model is high-level conceptual data model. It allows you to describe the data involved in real-world enterprise in terms of entities and relationships. It is widely used to create an initial design of the database. It provides a set of useful concepts that makes it convenient for a developer to move from a basic set of information to a detailed and precise description of information that can be easily implemented in a database system. ER model is a conceptual data model, describes the data involved in real world enterprise entities and relationships. Initial design of the database. Okay, so tell me what is first full form of ER model and then what is it?
ER model is the entity relationship model,
Yeah,
and it is a high level conceptual model that is used to create the initial design of a database.
yeah.
It's used to
And
describe the data in terms of entities and their relationships.
yes, correct. So ER model is the entity relationship model. It's a uh, high level what?
Conceptual.
Conceptual model. Okay, high level conceptual model, which basically is used to design the data initially before even you plot those tables, before even you create the table, you design the data, and then it describes the relationship between it describes the data and the relationship between different data. High level conceptual model data model describe the data involved in real world enterprise relationship between those entities. Initial design of the database. Okay. ER model, entity attributes and relationships. So what is an entity, Sumaya?
An entity is a real world object. Uh,
Uh, okay. And attributes are columns, I believe.
yeah, the attributes are uh, like the properties of the entity.
Okay. Suppose we design a school database. In this database, a student will be an entity with attributes like address, name, ID, and age. Yeah, attributes are columns. The student will be an entity. Address can be another entity with attributes like city, street name, pin code, etc. And there will be relationship between them. Entity may be any object, class, person, or place. Okay. So when they talk about entity, we have to think about object. It could be any object, class, person, or place. In ER diagram, an entity can be represented as rectangles. So yeah, this is what we have to describe. I think when they ask questions about this, we have to describe their shape and stuff. We can tell them that entity is represented by rectangles. We have a strong entity and weak entity. A strong entity has a primary key and is not dependent on another entity, while um, weak entity doesn't have any primary key. Uh, it is dependent on the strong entity. Uh, Strong entity is represented by the rectangle, and weak entity is represented by double rectangle. So entities and objects, attributes is columns. ER model is basically a high level conceptual data model which is used to design the data. It describes the data in terms of entities and relationship between the entities. Each entity is an object uh, of the of person, place, class, etc. Entity set or type, a collection of similar kind of entities is called entity set. So entity set or type is nothing but a collection of entities. Entity identifier, an attribute or a set of attributes which attains unique value for every distinct entity in a set, is called key attribute, and its values can be used to identify each entity uniquely in the given entity set. Weak entity depends on another entity. Weak entity doesn't contain any key attributes. We will discuss this. Attribute is used to describe the property of an entity. Eclipse is used to represent an attribute. Strong entity is represented by a rectangle. Weak entity is represented by double rectangle. An attribute is represented by the eclipse. You have simple attribute, you have composite attribute, and then you have single valued and multi-valued. Simple attribute cannot be further divided into parts. For example, first name, last name, these are simple attributes, cannot be divided. Composite attribute can be divided. For example, name can be divided into first name and last name. That's your composite attribute. Then we have single valued, uh, and an attribute having single value is single valued. Attribute having multi values is multi valued. Um, so a single value attribute is generated by um, single eclipse. Multi valued is denoted by oval or double eclipse. And then you have the derived attribute. Like for example, you can derive somebody's age from his date of birth, and that is represented by the dotted eclipse or dotted oval shape. Okay, so I'll just come back in 1 minute. Okay, so Sumaya, what are attributes?
Attributes are the properties of an entity.
Okay. What are different types of attributes?
Uh,
Simple.
Multivalued,
What?
composite.
Directly, you want to start from there? Start from the top. You have simple.
uh,
Okay,
Single
give me one.
valued.
Yeah. No, not simple value, just simple attribute. What is a simple attribute? I think your cat is troubling you.
Simple attribute. No, those are kids outside.
Okay. My manager's daughter, she sounds like a cat. And so one of the days she was screaming, and I told him that, oh, you've got a cat in the background. He said, no, it's my daughter who sounds like a cat. I said, okay, okay, cool. Literally, she sounds like a cat. Meow, meow, she does. Probably she's calling her mother. Okay, coming back. So what's a simple attribute?
A simple attribute has it contains a single value.
Yeah. No, it cannot be further divided, like a first name and last name. An attribute that cannot be further
Yeah,
divided, like
and
a
it
subset.
cannot be further divided into more parts.
Yeah.
Then
Uh,
composite attribute is made up of uh, two or more attributes,
hmm. Like
and
example.
like name is made of made up of the attributes first name, middle name, and last name.
Okay.
Then multi-valued uh, can have multiple values in one attribute,
Example.
like a list of phone numbers.
Okay. What is it denoted by? What shape?
By the double oval.
What is simple and composite attributes denoted by?
By the single line oval. And composite also is also single line, but it has it's connected to its different parts.
It's connected to the simple. Sorry, it's connected to the. So composite connected to the simple, and simple is connected to the composite.
Yeah.
And what is the attribute denoted by?
What?
Attribute shape.
Oval.
Okay. All right. There's one more attribute.
Derived attribute,
Okay. What's that?
which is derived or computed from other attributes.
For
So,
example.
like age can be computed from the date of birth,
Okay.
and it
What is
is represented using a dotted oval.
okay. Cool. Now relationship with ER diagram. Again, a recap. ER diagram is entity relationship diagram, um, which is what was the word for that? Uh, what was ER diagram?
High level
High
conceptual
level
data model.
conceptual. Yeah, my mind is actually tired, because 8 o'clock I've been working on top of that, last 2 hours. Anyways, so yeah. So ER diagram, high level conceptual data model, which is used to design the data model, and basically design a table and design the data. And it is used to describe the data in form of entities and relationship between entities. And entity is an object, which could be of a class, person, or place. Attribute is properties of an entity. We have simple, composite, derived, multi-valued attributes. Now we talk about relationship with the ER diagram. Uh, So two entities can be related to each other. For example, a teacher teaches student, a manager manages uh, employees, and this relation is denoted by uh, what shape is it? Uh, Diamond shape. Yeah, diamond shape. Used to describe the relation associated between entities. Diamond or rhombus is used to represent the relationship in teacher entity then student entity. Teachers is teachers is the association relationship between them. Types of relationships: one to one, one to many to one, and many to many. One to one relationship, in which means that one entity can be related to only another entity. For example, female is married to a male and male is married to a female. Then one to many relationship, which means one entity can be related to multiple entities. And okay, so I think let me go with this one. When only one instance of an entity on the left and more than one instance of entity on the right associate itself with the relationship. Many to many, when more than one entity on the left associates itself with the more than with one entity on the right, that's one to many to one. Example: student enrolls in one course, while one course can have many student enrolled into it. We have many to many, so when multiple entities associate themselves with multiple on the left associate themselves with the multiple entities on the right, that's many to many. For example, an employee can manage multiple projects, and project can be managed by multiple employees. Relationship cardinality of the relationship means number of instances of an entity associated with another entity. Cardinality of a table is the number of rows, and yeah, degree means number of columns. Here, cardinality of relationship set is the number of instances of the entity associated with another entity. Total participation, where all entities from entity set participate in relationship set, is called total participation. The thing is used by double equal to, denoted by double equal to, or double lines. Uh, for example, participation of an entity set course in relationship set taught by can be set to total because every course must be taught by the facility. Partial means not necessary for all entities to participate in the relationship. PR diagram: entity is rectangle, weak entity is double rectangle, strong entity is single rectangle. Attribute is oval or eclipse. Key attribute is eclipse and then underline. Derived attribute is dotted oval. Relationship is rhombus. What is this double? Is it dependent or something? What is this double rhombus or double diamond sign?
It's between a strong entity and a weak entity.
Okay. Then you have composite attribute, which can contain multiple simple attributes. Simple attributes cannot be uh, are atomic, cannot be subdivided. Composite can be. Multi-valued attribute, double oval. Total participation use double lines. Partial participation use single lines. Cool. I think that's all they will ask. Nothing else there. SQL. What is an SQL? Structured query language is used to query the data, I guess, from the database. Defines following ways to manipulate data stored in the relational database management system. So you have DDL, data definition language. You have DML, data manipulation language. What else is there?
Data control language.
So DDL, data definition language, DML, data manipulation language, and data control language. So data definition language is used to basically define the data, like create the data, alter the table, select the data. I believe these all come in DDL, right? What is the DDL? Do you remember?
It's used to create and manipulate tables.
Okay. And DML? DML is manipulation, right?
Uh, yeah,
Okay.
DML is used to uh, perform operations on the data in the tables.
And I think data control language is used to manage the permissions of the user, like which user gets how much access, right?
Yeah,
SQL command practice link. Data defines sets of command used to modify the schema object, tables, indexes, and views. So you have to think in that way. It's a set of commands used to create and modify schema objects like tables, indexes, views. These commands provide the ability to create, alter, and drop these objects. Create is used to create a table. So you say create table, name of the table in round brackets. You put um, the column name, the data type, the column width, as well as the constraints. So DDL is a set of commands that is used to modify the schema objects such as tables, indexes, and views. We haven't done views yet, huh? By the way, there are quite a few important topics that we haven't covered. Maybe you have on your own, but I haven't covered, which are your, not this one, views, indexes, procedures, triggers, transaction managements. Yeah, all of these. And then that. Let's stop at 9:30. Data definition language. So if you want to basically modify a column, you'll use alter table. If you want to modify a row, you'll use what will you use to? Is it insert? What is it? What's the command to modify a row? Insert into.
insert is for inserting a row.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
update for modifying.
Yeah. Correct. Okay. We'll come back to that. So again, data definition language is basically set of commands used to modify schema objects such as indexes, tables, and views. And the command to add a column is alter table, and the name of the table, alter table, name of the database, sorry, and then space add, and the column name, data type, width, and constraints. Modify is to modify, add constraint is to add constraint, drop is to drop, enable, disable, add, drop is to delete. Data manipulation language, select, For aliases, we use quotes. Concatenation, we use double pipe. Use distinct to eliminate. Comparison operators between and and. In list means check if the data is available from that list. Like is to check if it matches. S percentage means S and anything after that. This matches the next item. Like this is before I, there should be one character, and then anything after that is null to check if the data is null or not. Select, logical operators, sal, order by, sorting, aggregate functions like count, max, min, average. Group by allows us to group multiple rows that have this same value. Yeah. Often used with aggregate functions like count, max, min, sum, average to group the result set by one or more columns. Having are generally used with group by. Insert into, insert a new row. So you have insert into name of the table and the values, sorry, name of the columns. So you have insert into name of the table and in brackets name of the columns and then values, and under brackets you put comma separated values for those columns. Update is used to update. To update table name set column name equals so and so where so and so. Delete from employee where employee not in. I said some queries are basically query within query. The output of the inner query is passed to the outer query as an input. Some queries can be placed in where or having or from clause. Single row query, subquery, multiple row, multiple column subqueries, outer inner queries. The difference between subquery and a join. Subquery, I think, cannot be performed on multiple tables. Like inner query cannot perform on multiple tables, but join can be performed on multiple tables. Joins. Well, what is a join? So join allows us to join the rows of uh, two or more tables that have the same column values that are based on the related column between them. Types of join, you have equi-join, self-join, outer-join. Equi-join is based on the equality of the two tables related column. Self-join is when a table is joined with itself. Joining is based on equality between the values in the columns. Column appear in the result table. Natural join is just join basically based on the columns in the table. One common attribute must be present between the two tables, like foreign key. Uh, Natural join are of following types: outer join, left join, right join, and then full join. We have inner join. Inner join is same as join. Outer join, you have left join, right join, and full join. In left join, the columns of the first of the left table are always kept irrespective of the match is found or not, and in the right join
The column values of the right table are always kept, irrespective of whether the match is found or not. In case if the match is not found, the value of that is null. Full join, both left and right columns of both tables are kept, irrespective of the match found or not. Am I correct on these three?
Yeah.
Okay. Outer join is the join in which those tuples that do not have the matching values are also included in the result table. Okay, that's the thing between inner join and outer join. That even the values that do not match uh, from both tables are still kept. Inner join, that doesn't happen. You have to only include those values where there's a match and found using the column, common related column between them. Okay, normalization. Let me see how much is left. Oh, the views and all are left, huh? Okay, no problem. We'll do it fast. Let me see even if I
I have
remember
to
it.
leave in a few minutes.
Like what time?
9:15 to
Okay,
9:20.
no problem. You can drop at that point of time when you have to leave. You don't have to say
Okay.
anything. Okay, cool. So normalization allows to basically work with different tables, making sure there is no duplications. Um, like one table can be divided into multiple tables to make sure there is no duplication, and we don't have an issue of like if we want to insert a data, uh, there's a dependency on that data. For example, if a course is created, if we just keep both student and course in the same table, if a course is created, maybe none of the students have enrolled it, so we can't add student value into it. But if we divide the table into two, one in course and second is student, then if a course is introduced, we can keep adding those courses irrespective of whether a student is enrolled or not. And if a student has joined is not enrolled a course, we can still go ahead and maintain a separate table for that. So it solves such problems. Process of organizing the data in the database. Normalization is used to minimize redundancy from a relation or a set of relation. It is also used to eliminate undesirable characteristics like insertion, update, and deletion anomalies. Yeah, I have to remember that word. Anomalies. Insertion, updation, and deletion anomalies. Normalization divides a larger table into smaller tables and links using relationships. Normal form is used to reduce redundancy from the database table. So may I quickly, can you explain all the normalization form before you leave?
Okay.
Maybe just share
So
your screen. Yeah, maybe quickly share your screen and go fast on that. I'll stop share. Just go up until the third, forget the fourth. Just first, second, and third. Skip all the functional dependency and all of this thing. Just the three normalization.
okay. A relation is in first normal form if all the attributes have atomic values.
Mhm.
So all of the data values in its columns should be single valued and not multi-valued. And there
Uh-huh.
should be no duplicate tuples in the relation. Each data value is single valued, and entries in a column or attribute are of the same kind or belong to the same domain. So
Yeah,
this
can you just
table
make it
is
big? It's
in
too small. I can't really see anything.
the slideshow takes a long time to load.
Okay. Internet.
No, it does that when I'm in the stream.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Then just minimize it. Then it's fine. Yeah, it's loaded. Fine. Yes. Okay.
So this table is in, it's not in first normal form because it has multi-valued attribute. So we separate that, we create separate rows for each value in emp mobile, and then it conforms to first normal form.
Okay. So let me confirm that back once again. Go back. So table is in first normal form if there are no multi-valued attribute present. And to normalize it, we have to basically repeat that record, but this time keep them in separate tuples. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A relation is in second normal form if it's in first normal form, and all
Mhm.
the attributes which are not part of the primary key are fully functionally dependent on the primary keys. So the main thing is that you should have
Okay.
no partial dependencies.
Okay. So fully dependent. Okay.
So this table is in first normal form, but it's not in second normal form because the non-prime attribute teacher age is dependent on teacher ID alone, but the primary key is teacher ID and subject. So there's a partial dependency uh, of teacher age to teacher ID. So
Mhm.
it violates the rule for second normal form. So we decompose the table into two tables, a teacher table and teacher ID subject table.
Okay.
A relation is in third normal form if it's in second normal form and every non-key attribute of the relation is non-transitively dependent. So we should have no transitive dependencies in third normal form.
Should be
All
directly
the
dependent.
non-prime, yeah, all the non-prime attributes should be directly dependent on the primary key. So here, state, city, district are dependent on employee zip, and employee zip is dependent on employee ID. So there's a transitive dependency.
Mhm.
These things are not directly related to employee ID.
Okay.
So to make it comply with the third normal form, we separate it into the employee table and employee zip table. So all
Okay.
of the transitively dependent one goes in the employee zip table with the employee zip.
Okay, I'll recap all three quickly. So, first normal form, basically, it should not be multi-value attributes. Second normal form, it should be uh, fully functional dependent on the primary key, correct?
Yeah,
And in third normal form, it should be directly dependent. So, non key attribute should be directly dependent on the primary key, correct?
yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Sumaya, and all the best for tomorrow.
All the best.
Yeah, please study the other things that I spoke about. It's already there in the
Yeah,
notes when you have time. Okay then.
yeah.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.